to tell you about the structure. So we use no course books. Although if you need something, yeah, I mean, if you know some interesting text or listenings from some other course books, feel free to use them, you know, for your context. No homework and no syllabus. If you want to deliver just one lesson per term, it can be just one lesson. If you want to have a series of lessons, you can create your own syllabus. Yeah, but yeah, you don't have to. You can just deliver one lesson. Of course, you say yes to lesson plans, and I am usually requesting these lesson plans 7 days before you conduct. You conduct the lesson. Why 7 days before? Because I want to discuss this lesson plan. I want to, if needed, I want you to have some time to make changes. Then consult with me again if you need it. Yeah. So just for us to have this time, because we might have different timetables and workloads. Yeah. So we need this time. Feel free to use different approaches. Presentation, what is PPP? Yay. TTT? Yes, of course. TBL. You can try new approaches. It's a great opportunity to try something new, to experiment and to see how it works with new students. It's not your group, yeah. These are just students which sign up for this additional class from different offices, from different groups, but they are approximately of one level. Sometimes these students can be of one level. Sometimes, if this additional class is for level, for example, 2 and 3, for intermediate and intermediate, you will have a mix of these students. Yes to exploiting topics, catching up with the material. It's a great opportunity to recycle something, especially when the semester comes towards the end. You can have some extra classes for revision, and you know that your students need more revision with certain topics, or with you can collect a few topics and have some extra lessons devoted to them. You can advertise this class among your students and among other students groups, and you will have a class full of people who are interested exactly in this topic. And yes, to communicative approach. Yeah. I got some questions to you. Do you know when? Do you know how long? Do you know who, types, and where? When? When do we have them? So, Saturday and Friday. Yeah, so on Saturdays and Fridays, yeah, we conduct these lessons. How long?
1 hour or 1 hour and a half?
Starting from 1 hour. Yeah. So we have 60 minutes lessons. They are called mini grammar lessons because only 6 people, up to 6 people, can sign up for this type of a lesson. And even if you've got 1 student registered, we don't cancel. You've got a private lesson. Students get private lessons. And so we start from 1 hour, and we can have 1 hour and a half if we're talking about some additional classes which are devoted to lexis, maybe some functional language, some other topics and context. We can have 2 hours if you want to cover lots of grammar, if you want to do some revision. We used to have 3 hours classes, and we decided that they were pretty successful. Yeah, so this is like an intensive crash course, and they work well. And if you have something in mind, we can discuss it, and we can timetable you for a 3 hours lesson. Types, I have already mentioned a few types. So
grammar.
Yes, grammar or some other topics. Yeah, lexical topics. you can choose some other context. You can have some practical additional classes. You can have some clubs. For example, Ksusha Moravska has her famous board games club. Yeah, so they are playing different board games. Sometimes they need 2 hours for a game, sometimes 1 hour and a half. So we discuss it and we timetable her. Yeah. She usually has them on Saturdays. So times and where. Somewhere here. Yeah. So actually we've got few offices. One of them is here. Also, sorry, not Risha. This is Nazarevska, also Ravnidinska, Khoriva, Podil is also the office where you can conduct additional classes. So we conduct all these lessons in central offices. Yeah, Bassena, of course. Yeah. So central offices. Yeah, we have answers. So, to wrap up, Friday, Saturday, 60, 91, 180 minutes, and to be discussed. Who? Students of the same levels and students from different groups and offices. Yes, so we collect students of the same levels, but if you want to have students of few levels, yeah, then it is also possible. Mini face-to-face lessons up to 6, yeah, up to 4 lessons in a row. Yeah, that's a very good point. So if you want to prepare a 60-minute lesson, yeah, and conduct it on one day, you can timetable up to 4 lessons in a row. So you prepare a short plan for 60 minutes, and then you just repeat it. Yeah, so you save your time, yeah, and you earn money. That's a good thing. 90 minutes, 180 minutes, but then up to 16 people. Yeah, we usually register. And we have, yeah, I told you about Ksusha's club, but we also have book clubs, TED clubs. TED club is free, I believe, yeah, this term. Pronunciation club, video lessons, video clubs. So if you have some interesting ideas, feel free to discuss them with me. We can, you know, organize something interesting. We can have some practical classes. You can, if you know how to draw, how to, for example, do sketches, yeah, you can teach your students how to do that. Cooking, yeah, for example, yeah, we can discuss that, we can arrange that, we can try, you know, to do that. And where, you know, so central offices. What makes a good lesson? A rhetorical, a practical question to you.
Good plan.
Okay, yes, planning. What else?
Interesting topic.
Yes.
Variety of activities. Your mood.
Of course, yeah. It is quite important. Good students, I think, yeah. Open-minded students who are ready to do something, to experiment, who are open, who are not angry with anything, yeah. So that's quite important. So, productivity. Of course, students need some sense of achievement. They need to receive something from this. Interactivity, yeah, they want to communicate. This is one of the main reasons why we are doing that. Challenge, correction, yeah. So, if the lesson is too easy, yeah, then students might be demotivated. On the other hand, if it is too difficult, then, you know, it's also a problem. Correction, yeah, students want to see that a teacher is interested in what is going on. A teacher can pick up on their problems and can deal with some emergent language, emergent mistakes. A sense of achievement, yeah, I link it with productivity. If we're talking about the teacher, yeah, it is important, yeah, personality is important. Teacher must enjoy what he or she does. Yeah, so yeah. This is what you already mentioned. Establishing rapport. What is rapport?
A good relationship, like good atmosphere in the class.
Yeah, yeah. So relationship between the teacher and the students. Treat equally. Yeah.
Pay attention to everyone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What do we call these students who are favorites?
Teacher's pets.
Yeah, pets. Yeah, teacher's pets. Know all their names. Why? Why know all their names?
Because if it's 1 hour lesson, you don't have time to get to know every student.
So it might be not that easy, but we can have different things. Yeah, how to do that? Different things and tricks. How can we memorize students' names? What are the ways?
Through the game and
Yes. Yeah. We can have different games. What helps me is the chain activity where when students stand in a circle and they say their name and some kind of crazy association, or not crazy. For example, Sasha, Sani, yeah, and then Alina, amazing. Or they can have different associations, like with sports or with fruit, and then it helps you memorize their names. And it's a chain game, so people repeat their names. We can have some name tags, stickers with name tags. We can fold the papers and put them on the desks. Yeah, it works pretty well. You can draw a plan, a sitting plan arrangement of your classroom. So let's imagine that I've got a sheet of paper, so I'm going to draw this desk, that desk, and that desk, and I will just write your names where you're sitting. But as soon as I regroup you, I need to change it. Yeah. Troubleshooting. In what way is it important? What is it? So reacting to different situations in the classroom, so you won't be prepared to everything. Yeah? So you need to have this skill of dealing with emergent problems. What kinds of problems might we have?
Sometimes people just don't like each other.
Yes. Yeah, so what to do? Regroup. Yeah, regroup. Sometimes students might not like certain questions. Sometimes questions might be too personal. They don't want to discuss something. Yeah, usually if they attend a lesson, they are ready. Yeah, they know the topic, but different things might happen. Troubleshooting can be also connected with everything which is working or not working. Yeah, speakers, screens, computers, internet connection, uploading, downloading different things, videos, presentations. So to be on the safe side, copy something here and there, ask some other people, administration to help you. And if something, for example, there is no audio, what can you do? But you'll plan your lesson around some kind of audio. What can you do?
through your phone. You can play through your phone.
Okay, yes.
So that's what I'm doing.
So use something else. Yeah, usually nowadays phones have pretty good sound speakers. Yeah, and your students have the phones. You can. No, it's going to be difficult.
To give the lines?
To share the link, but if you've got 16 students, that might be a problem, but if you've got like up to 6 students, I think it is manageable. The old school method is to read a text yourself. Why not? Yeah.
It might not have the text actually. The script. You might not have the script.
If you have the script, you can do that. Yeah. If you have it, why not? If you need another person, you can ask another teacher or
to make it out.
Yeah, to read it. Yeah. In roles, you can ask our administrators to help you. Yeah, this is also something that can save your lesson. TT versus STT. What am I talking about? What is it?
Teachers teach students.
No. Not testing.
Teacher all the time.
And
students.
So this is one of the components which makes a good lesson. Yeah. So what is the ratio?
They say that teachers' talking time should be like 20% and
Sorry.
students' talking time like 80%. That
Yeah.
depends on the level.
But yes, it
Depends on the level, depends on the topic. Depends on lots of factors. Yeah, I can't say that there is a golden like formula which says 80-20. Yeah, but they say. Yeah. So we need to bear in mind that students' output must prevail. Yeah, so try to minimize your input. Yeah, let it be 20%, maybe 30%. And don't forget about effective teacher's talking time and not effective. If a teacher starts rambling, repeating instructions, maybe commenting, oh, I'm going to give you some worksheets, and then blah, 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 and a teacher is just describing everything which is going on and cannot shut up. That is an example of not effective teacher's talking time. But if a teacher is reading a story to students, it's also teacher's talking time, but students need to listen and answer some questions. Then they need to use this story for something else as a model for their next activity. Then it is going to be effective teacher's talking time. And in this case, it will rise, but so what? Yeah, so always bear that in mind. Yeah. 30-70, 20-80, 35-65. Let it be. Okay, I've got a few situations here. How would you cope with the following situations during the lesson? Could you please work in a pair, and in a pair? You've got around 3 minutes.
Okay.
If you've got this presentation, or just sometimes
Okay. about students look at the plan for the text and say we have done it. You mean that they've done it?
They have
the other teacher
Yes.
or
They have already read the text.
if they refer to the test, you will was the task? It depends.
I have them also on my.
So let's start discussing. One of the students finished the task ahead of time. What can we do?
So it was a type of discussion, so you may ask them some additional questions to discuss. Or if it was like open the brackets, you may come up to the students to check their task, to discuss their problems.
Yes.
Or ask them to check each other.
Compare with each other. Yeah. Well, they can't check each other because they don't have the correct
Yeah,
answer,
but
but
compare,
comparing answers is the way out. Okay. Yeah. So if we are talking about opening brackets, you can check the students. Yeah, and then you can
Give them some more tasks.
more tasks probably,
It's
but.
like, for example, you plan that they will do several exercises at home. So
Okay.
you tell them that you may start doing this exercise, which we will not do in class anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
So that you won't say
Save
ahead of time in for the next task, but you may start doing this like to do
Okay.
something.
Yes. To save your time at home. We usually don't have any homework. Yeah.
So
These types of classes, so that's might be the way out all the time. But you can, having checked a student, you can ask this student, you can nominate a student to be a teacher in their group, in his or her group, and this student will check the rest of the students when they are ready. Yeah, or actually each table.
It depends on the number of students, yes?
Yes, of course. But usually you see like you've got one early finisher, you come up and check this early finisher, and then this person is
The teacher.
yeah, a teacher in his or her group. Then you see, oh, somewhere else, there is an early finisher, so you come up to that person, you check, this person is responsible. Yeah, so it helps sometimes. Or you can ask this person to come up to the board. Yeah, you check this person, discuss some questions, you can ask this person to come up to the board and write down the answers. And this person is busy, this person is in front of the class, while this person is writing the answers, the rest of the students are still finishing, and they are not paying lots of attention here. And then they can check their sentences, their answers with the kids. Yeah, so also one of the possible ways out. So the projector suddenly doesn't work.
So usually not doesn't work at all, but it doesn't work for a certain
Time, yes.
So you may like skip this task and do the next one, or
Yes.
have like a bridge to talk about the students.
Yeah, so
Come up with
some
some
questions.
While you're waiting for this machine to start working. Just like leave this task with the video for later and do now
Maybe
something
swap
else.
the stages if that is possible. Yeah, you can swap the stages. So what usually happens with the projector? So projectors, when they work, they warm up. Yeah. And then when you switch them off for a certain period of time, and then you want, when you turn them off and then you want to turn them on again, they need some time to cool down. You need to give this time, you have to wait maybe 1 or 2 minutes. You wait for this 1 or 2 minutes and then everything works again.
And there was once like I had these special clubs with grammar and German, and it was held in a room where there were like 4 windows. So the projector was okay, but nobody could see anything. So they just had to listen.
So yes, actually our aim is to develop listening skills if we are planning to do some watching. Basically we're developing listening skills, so we can substitute this task with listening, yeah, just without any video. We can ask our students to predict or to imagine what is going on. Yeah, by listening, they are picturing, yeah, and then they can describe it. Yeah? So this is also a good alternative to this task. If you're just checking the keys, yeah, rewrite them. Yeah, use another type of feedback. Yeah, luckily we can do that pretty easy. Yeah, okay. I think we've got quite a few solutions here. You have forgotten to bring the materials you were relying on.
So it happened to me like twice, but for general classes, which are not like grammar classes. But every time I was lucky because I have a senior teacher to whom I sent them, so they were on my email.
Okay.
So you can just open your email and take them from there.
Yeah,
So-
the same.
So they are somewhere in your emails. Yeah, luckily.
Or you can do some other task, maybe play some game or search quickly in the internet. On the internet, like what are you going to do next if you don't know, if you don't have these materials.
Okay, I believe that you remember quite a lot of things, yeah, that you have already prepared, so you can restore them in memory. You can go back to the books, yeah, to the materials. You can always ask other teachers for help. They might have something, they might have something that they can share with you. We've got our library, and the library is always on our Google Drive, and you can refer to those books. You can substitute an activity with something similar. There is a file which I created years ago with libraries. Like, you've got a number of books with the topics, with the levels. You can filter some topics. You can see which books are good for these and those levels, or activities, or grammar, communication topics. So you can find something quickly. Okay. Spontaneous online discussion occurred. Students seem to enjoy it. Does it sound like a problem?
Well, it depends on your lesson. If you
Okay.
are supposed to give them some grammar topics, you
Yes.
still have to give them the knowledge because they need it.
Yes.
But-
They count on it.
Yes, but probably you can just borrow the time from exercises and let them discuss because it's actually our main goal.
Yeah, to teach people how
Yes.
to speak
Yes.
properly, fluently. So, totally agree with you. If we've got some flexi stages in our lesson, then stretch it, give a bit more time for students to discuss if they seem to enjoy it. But if you know that you've got lots of things planned, you can explain them the rationale. You can signpost it. Right now we are doing this. We are discussing, but we've got lots of other interesting things to do. Let's move on. You will enjoy them even more. So explain them. What you've got for them to do, because they have certain expectations, and if they were signing up for narrative tenses class and they were discussing something at the very, very beginning, and and didn't cover any of the narrative tenses, they will be dissatisfied. Students look at the planned reading text and say, "We don't know." So
It depends. If it's just one student,
good
you
point.
can- Yes, you can just ask them to join their group, maybe help people and
So
work with it. They still need to refresh it if they have read it like 2 years ago.
Okay.
They need it. But if the whole group knows this text, you can just ask them to read it quickly and move on to exercises. Or you will have to find some other activities.
Some other activities, some other ways out. Okay, so I think the chances are low, maybe not very low, but low, that each student, let's say that, If you've got just a few students, regroup them. Let it be like one person who is an expert, yeah, at each task. And this person will be helping, consulting, giving some extra information about this task. This person will, these people, yeah, if you've got a few of them, they will feel, yeah, empowered. If you've got the whole class, then I would change the task. Yeah, if it is absolutely the same task that they already had, then change it. For example, you can ask your students to scan the text, to read it, and to circle, or so they draw the grid like for crosses and knots, and you ask them to choose 9 pieces of information, any kind of information that they need from the text. They can choose different expressions or numbers or names, verbs, nouns, adjectives, whatever they want to. So they write them in the squares, then they take away their text, and then they need to retell using these things. Yeah, so this task requires 0 preparation. It's your alternative. You always have it with you. Yeah. So change the task. Okay, thank you for your ideas. Let's move on to errors and mistakes. Yeah. So working on errors and mistakes is one of the components of a successful lesson. So what do you know about errors and mistakes? Do you know the difference between errors and mistakes?
Error is something big and important, and mistake is less important, something like that.
Okay.
So there is a slip of the tongue is
No, actually, there are some categories. We've got errors, mistakes, slips of tongue, and we've got fossilized mistakes. So, and we need to deal with all of the things somehow, yeah? These two terms are the terms which I frequently confuse, but I can tell you that we've got one type of mistake. It is something that students have already learned, but have lack of practice. They are not confident. Yeah, they make some attempts to use it, but still, yeah, they have problems. Yeah, but they have already learned it, and something that they haven't learned, but they have this need to use it, but they cannot because they don't have this tool. Yeah. So he worked on Sunday. He asked for a doctor consultation. So yeah, these are examples of what we might hear. And if we have a problem with something that students have already learned, what can we do with it?
Just ask about all various mistake, or like he worked on Sunday, so what can you tell me about this work? What can you tell me about the pronoun and the about that?
Perhaps just count on important task and to correct mistake.
Mm-hmm. So if you know that this is something that they have already learned, you can involve students. They can self-correct themselves with some error correction, with some hints, maybe gestures. What is he? So yeah, some gestures. You can use. Yeah, you can write letter S on the board. You can have some delayed error correction for students to self-correct themselves. You can have some personalized error correction when you write their mistakes on separate post-it notes and then stick them to their desks. Maybe not personalized, but personalized for their desk. Sometimes I do it in the following way. I have a piece of paper and I write down their mistakes. So I've got like 5, maybe 7. Then I go and photocopy these mistakes, and each desk receives a list of mistakes. So as an alternative, basically, it is the same delayed error correction, but not on the board. But they are writing, discussing, in groups. Okay, and I also mentioned slips. Yeah, slips. of a tongue, yeah, you mentioned that, and I mentioned fossilized mistakes. So what are they?
This one, I don't know.
So slips of tongue. Can students self-correct themselves?
Yes, of course.
Usually yes. Yeah. Usually it's not a problem. Yeah, there's something that happens in your first language as well. Fossilized mistakes.
Repetitive mistake.
Yes. Something that
They do all the time. They should have known.
Yes.
But they do not.
and
speak
they
correctly.
know it. Yeah, and they know it if you draw their attention to this. But unfortunately, they keep repeating the same mistake again and again and again. What can you do about it? Remind them about it again and again and again and again and again and again. Maybe use some gestures, yeah, something that they will understand. Yeah, your code.
I do the face like, again, and they
Yeah.
just.
Sometimes teachers can repeat their students' sentences up to the mistake. Sometimes teachers can repeat with a mistake, yeah, a sentence with a mistake, but changing the voice, the tone, yeah. It might help, yeah, and students get that there is something wrong. Yeah. Don't ignore fossilized mistakes, deal with them as well. To have a good additional class, it is quite important to choose a topic, a good topic for this lesson. So, how we need to approach this? Yeah, what is important? First of all, demand. Yeah, so topics need to be stretched, exploited, and revised. Yeah, so you can look through through our course books. You can go back to a certain topic, communication topic. You can stretch it. You can look at it in more details, or you know that you've got some extra resources, maybe videos, audios that are really interesting, but you just don't have time to use them at your lessons. Why not building an additional class around it? Topics have to be revised. You can join a few topics, especially if we're talking about grammar. Yeah, why not? Yeah, combining them and contrasting certain tenses. Statistics. So it is quite important because lower levels are more active. Yeah, elementaries, intermediate students, they are more active. Attendance is higher at the beginning of a term. And actually, in the end of the term, when students feel that, oh my God, our exam, final test is approaching, I forgot something, I missed this and that, or I know nothing, I need to learn everything in 1 week,
Yes.
in 2 lessons. Okay, yes, here you are. So, statistically, the beginning and the end. Topics with clear aim for students are in demand. So students usually react pretty well to clear topics. So we are talking about present perfect, or we are talking about past tenses. Past simple, past continuous, past perfect. So they know what they are going to talk about. Yeah. For example, TED Club is quite popular because all students know this name. It's sort of a brand, so they react well to this. Yeah, but if you say that we're going to talk about animals, it seems to be a specific topic, but they don't react to it pretty well. We have low registrations for these lessons. Novelty hasn't been taught before. Yeah. So usually, if it is something new, students might be interested. But even if this topic has been taught years ago, then why not repeating it, especially if it was successful. And there are some eternal topics, like writing, CVs. Yeah, they are in demand all the time. And interest. The teacher has to be passionate about it. Yeah, if it is interesting for you, it will be interesting for your students. Yeah. It is important, and everything is connected. So some books that might help you. This is a series, your professional perspective series. And you can find these books at englishteachers.org and of course at our Google Drive Teachers Library. They might be very useful for you while preparing different activities and tasks. So creating conversation in class, student-centered interaction, so how to arrange different tasks, adapt them, humanizing your course book, yeah, also how to work with your course book and how to lift the material. The Minimax teacher, yeah, how to maximize the output from the students. Have a look at them, you might find something useful there. Many additional lessons, grammar face-to-face. You've got 2 minutes to discuss pros and cons of this particular type of a lesson. So could you please work in a pair, and pair? 60 minutes grammar lessons with up to 6 students registered.
I have, for example, 10 or 12 students. I don't know. On the other hand, I see there is a difference. It's very physical. It's okay. Don't communicate. There are only 6 people or 5 or 3. It's easier to talk about that one. If about grammar. Grammar is something else. You need to pay attention to all these special. Listen to them. Okay, I think it's best to
If it's 6 and 1 daughter, it's easier for 5 people to make these persons that work down. Yeah.
Thank you. So, pros. Yeah, can you talk about pros?
I can give more attention to every student.
Yeah. If you have 2 students, 3 students, yeah, it becomes even more personalized.
Yeah.
Once I have only 1 student.
Yes, and
And
still,
that's
yeah,
very
still.
funny.
Yeah, but still they have a lesson.
Of course.
Actually, this lesson is free, yeah, it is included in their price, but they have a private lesson with a teacher. Nothing else? The main. Okay, you focus on specific grammar, yeah, so you don't have anything extra. You don't have to check any homework, so you don't spend time on that. You don't have to spend a lot of time on getting to know each other because you've got up to 6 students. Yeah, so you save a lot of time on these things and you focus only on grammar. You don't need to think of very complicated contexts. I mean, yeah. So they don't have to read or listen to something. You can use some interesting activities and tasks to set the context. Maybe just a joke, short dialogue, a picture. That's it. Yeah. And you devote most of the time to practice and production. And cons.
You cannot plan some elaborated game because you don't have enough people
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
And always like regrouping if you have like one
Uh-huh.
student or 3 students.
Yeah. So there is
So
everything.
they always work together.
Yeah.
If it's 2 people, they can work with each other, but if it's just one person, they can get shy talking to teacher.
Yeah.
So, yes.
And if you've got one student, but you
Plant a game.
You play together.
So your materials have to be adapted. Yeah, you should anticipate these like problems and have some solutions. Yeah, how to adapt it.
Are you informed about how many students is going to be in the lesson?
Yes, you are informed. You can see it on your CRM. Yeah, but you might find it out. Yeah, on the same day. Yeah, that you've got like one student. Yes, yeah. And if we let's think about a typical lesson plan for a mini grammar lesson. What do we start with? Yeah. We need to get our students interested. We need to warm them up. Leading into the topic. After that.
Presentation.
Presentation, yeah, with the help of
Context.
yeah, some kind of context. Then we've got some
Practice.
yeah, so we haven't presented, we haven't asked some CCQs. We want to our students to practice, to do some restricted practice tasks, and then we've got production, error correction. Yeah. So we warm up. We can tell a joke, we can ask a question, we can start with some amazing facts or statistics. We can share some personal experience, an anecdote, story, photo, realia. For example, you can bring some souvenirs or tickets from trips, yeah, and build a lesson around it. Yeah. Then you move on to the presentation of grammar. I've got some approximate timing, yeah, so you warm up to 10 minutes, yeah, not more, it's just the introduction. Save this time for later. Yeah. Then grammar presentation also up to 10 minutes. Keep it short. Keep it simple. Don't try to tell everything about this tense. Tell only that information that is necessary for this level, for these people today. Yeah. Practice. It's better to come up to, like, while practicing, while doing some activities, it is better to come to the point which is difficult or controversial, and then go back to explaining, yeah, when they have a clear example, rather than tell everything beforehand. Yeah. So give out some information in portions. For me, it works better. Production, yeah, up to 25 minutes. I think that there is quite good timing at 25 minutes for production. And ending. End on time, reflect on students' mistakes. So please remember that these 25 minutes, they include feedback, they include error correction. Looks like a lot, but it's not. So end on time, call people to action, maybe give some recommendations what they can do further. You have no homework, but you can give some links. You can share some videos with them. The ending must be short, and people need to have a sense of achievement. Yeah, so try to make them happy. Yeah, so they will come back to you. And I will also ask each teacher to share a feedback form. It will be either printed or students will have to scan some QR codes and complete a survey on their phones. Regardless of the form you ask your students to give some feedback on what is going on. So if you receive the printed forms for feedback, you can quickly look through them because it is important for you to know what students feel about the lesson, what they want more, what they need less. If it is going to be a survey on their phones, please send me an email, drop me a line, and I will Talia will share with you some print screens, the results, and you will see that. So it's not secret. Please contact me and ask. Okay, so let's think of other ways how to conduct grammar lessons. So you can start your lesson with a lead-in, and it can be just a quote. So this is what I told you. You don't have to have huge listening text, reading text. Just a quote. Only your real friend will tell you when your face is dirty. What grammar can it be linked to? There are no correct answers, just your ideas. Future?
Future, yes. Conditional.
Conditionals, in what way?
When?
Yes.
Present simple.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. Conditionals, why not? Come on, guys.
Pronouns.
Hmm?
Pronouns.
Okay, pronouns. Yes, okay. So feel free to use different quotes if it doesn't look like it is directly connected with a certain topic. Yeah, you can use some follow-up questions. Yeah, conditionals. I think that's perfect lead-in for conditionals. Why not? So some other quotes. Sorry for the colors. Please focus only on those quotes that you can see clearly. Can you connect them with some topics, some grammar topics? Yeah. So please work with your partners. You need to choose only one or two quotes on top and think how you can build up your lesson around this quote. Okay, please go ahead. You've got 2 minutes.
More like these articles. And one will taught as well without article because without mine and certain words we don't see. And this is as well.
Okay, so your ideas, please.
So,
Your ideas.
the first one can be for models or articles.
Models, articles. Yes, exactly. It doesn't mean that this is the only quote that you show. Yeah, show this quote, show one more quote. Yeah. So models, articles, the most beautiful discovery. Yeah. The most comparatives. Yeah. The quote from here, which disappeared. A good friend is cheaper than therapy. Cheaper than, cheaper than, and the most beautiful discovery true friends make. Yeah, so we started with a discussion about friends, but we moved on to comparative and superlative forms. Yeah. Okay, that is possible. and your general context is talking about friends. So some other ideas for presentation of different grammar structures. You can do some categorizing. You can ask students to categorize example sentences, or functional language. They can categorize them, and you will see what your students already know, what they already can. So it will be a little bit of testing. So test, teach, test. The first part of it. Matching pictures with sentences. Pictures with some situations and sentences that describe. For example, pictures that describe active situations and passive situations. Students need to match the sentences, and in that way you will develop a lesson around it, and you will contrast active and passive sentences. Completing a joke or an anecdote, with the punchline, for example, or maybe with some elements. Synonyms, antonyms, matching something with something, so definitions, for example. And different quizzes. For example, you have a geography quiz without articles. And in that way, you will test students' knowledge of articles and knowledge in geography. So that is also quite interesting. This book is the book which I always promote.
Can you read the name, please?
It is Teaching English Grammar, Trенінг. There are a number of chapters, and each chapter is about certain grammar structure, grammar tense, pattern, whatever. And this book offers different ways of presentation, and it describes even what you need to draw on the board, or find a picture of this and that, show it with CCQs.
What about grammar for starters?
Grammar for starters.
Because I'm going to have this semester, and I don't know what to do with them. How to talk, how to
talk
this. Because they don't understand actually.
They don't know lots of things, and it is very important to keep in mind that my students understand, and they will know only that information which I have taught. So if I haven't presented it, I can't expect my students to know it. So always start with some classroom language, with some instructions. Spend some time, sometimes recycling these things. Maybe you will need a few lessons to spend on that. Maybe 10 minutes of each lesson. Use a lot of repetitive things, a lot of things that you use for drilling. Some drills with substitutions. Even some basic things like asking how they are would be really necessary to drill, and giving them a lot of alternatives. How are you? I'm fine, I'm good, I'm great, I'm wonderful. And chants work really well with them, because in chants they need to repeat certain information again and again and again. They memorize it. They learn the rhythm. You don't explain anything. They learn it by heart as it is. So try to avoid explanations. Don't explain. Show it. Show it and repeat it. Show it and repeat it constantly. This is what works better with starters rather than explanation. This is the subject. This is the verb. First of all, you need to learn what is this, then is, then subject and verb. You need to teach them, and they need to learn these 4 words before you start presenting. So demonstrate. Demonstrate, show, drill, repeat, and so on. I will show you the book, which is good for drills. For example, list of vocabulary of functional language. It refers to our first categorizing example sentences, functional language. Yeah. So you've got some categories, for example, conversational gambits. You've got some general starters, breaking in, changing the subject's opinion, conviction, telling a story. Yeah. And your students have a lot of different starters, and then they need to categorize, and then they receive this list as the keys to refer to. Yeah, but they are doing this work by themselves. They are categorizing by themselves. Synonyms, antonyms. Yeah, so you're presenting words with the help of antonyms or synonyms, and you double up the number of words that they are presented and they learn. Multiple choice quiz. Yeah, for example, this one. It is first language is used in this activity, and students need to choose correct translation. It works well when we're talking about different idioms, and it is interesting to see how different idioms change from one language to another. Yeah? So in Russian and in English, for example, you say something for a black day, for a rainy day. Yeah? In one language it's black day, in another language it's for rainy day. So it's interesting to compare how people from different countries see situation. Yeah? Or they can see eye to eye on everything. Yeah? And we've got different confusing translations, and students choose the best one. Activities for practice and production. There is a series of communication games. You have elementary communication games, intermediate and advanced. The same about grammar games. Elementary, intermediate and advanced grammar games. Quite a lot of them. Games for grammar practice for multiple levels. So feel free to use them. Grammar with laughter.
Yeah, these jokes.
Yeah.
They're not really funny. They're strange, like English humor.
Yeah. Totally agree with you. But
still,
still you expose them to this culture.
Mm-hmm.
You show them sense of humor.
Yeah, they're like
another sense of humor.
yes.
Writing games. By the way, there are lots of interesting activities. I like, for example, the activity where students need to write, create their CVs or write letters of applications for different professions. For example, a spy or a chef, a cook on a submarine, or loads of professions, like strange professions, and they need to imagine a spaceman, so to Mars. Yeah? So they need to imagine that they want to apply for these positions, and they think of different skills that are necessary, would be necessary, or some experience, and it gives them ideas. It's easy for them to generate something crazy. And beginners communication games. Yeah, this is what I already mentioned. Yeah, we've got intermediate communication games, elementary communications, and beginners communication games. They are simple, repetitive, with some illustrations. Hello. Don't forget about using teachers' books for different course books. Total English, English File, Cutting Edge, Speak Out. Yeah. We used to have them for our course, except English File. Yeah. Feel free to use them. Choose your favorite ones. You will find lots of good activities. And my advice, give priority to course books rather than materials on the internet, because you can spend lots of time surfing the net, and you might not find something really good. There are lots of typos and errors, but these books are proofread, and they are trusted sources. They are usually good. This is just one of the tasks. Conversational gambits bingo. Yeah, it's basically how students need to use different starters of conversation, and they need to discuss different topics. You know, so they match and discuss certain topics with certain words, and it helps to cover all the functional language. Dialogues. So you can use dialogues for practicing certain grammar structures or functional language. For example, this activity asks students to improvise from the first line. They receive the first line, and then they need to make up a dialogue. Yeah, so I'm in love, and then they create a conversation. So I can't stand my new boss, and then they need to build up. And you can also set your own criteria that you need to use certain grammar in this dialogue. Yeah, today we're talking about modals, use modals. Today we're talking about perfect tenses, use perfect tenses. So students usually get very creative. Disappearing dialects. Disappearing dialects is good for drilling different structures, for memorizing. For example, if you want your students to memorize comparative and superlative forms, because usually comparative and superlative forms are pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, you've got a few rules, nothing difficult, you don't need to memorize lots of information, but students keep making the same mistakes, so it means that they have lack of practice. They just need to repeat it again and again and again and again and again. So they need to drill it, yeah, and disappearing dialects are good for that. So you've got a dialogue with, let's say, comparative superlative structures, they read it, sort of learn it, then something is disappearing and they recreate it, yeah. Then it becomes even more difficult, again they need to repeat it, then it becomes even more difficult, then you can erase everything, you can leave only first letters, yeah, or nothing. Yeah. Creating dialogues, yeah, from scratch. So your students might need to describe what people are thinking. What part of the lesson, what stage is this activity good for?
Production?
Yes, this is pure production. The previous task was good for restricted practice, yeah, because they are drilling a structure, but here they are producing, they are using their own tools, linguistic tools to write dialects. One of the books that can help you with different activities, so role plays for today's, you can use these tasks in pairs. The activities offered there are quite, they're quite long. Yeah, I mean, you need some time, but you can adapt them. You can use some ideas. You can change something. Okay, so grammar PPT presentations. As I have already mentioned, we can still use the same tools that we use in our communication and grammar lessons. We still use them during additional lessons. So feel free to use PowerPoint presentations. And your presentation usually includes lead-in, presentation of grammar, then practice and production. And please don't forget that presentation of grammar starts from meaning. We start from the meaning because our students need to know why we need it, what it means. Yeah, why do I know how to build it, how to make it, if I don't know why I need it and what it means? So meaning is first, then form, yeah, how to do it, and only after that I need correct pronunciation. Yeah, so focus on pronunciation before they really need it. Yeah, so before some speaking tasks. Yeah, so it's possible to break. You have to have some restricted practice, then pronunciation, and then speaking. Yeah, because if you do some pronunciation activities and then you tell your students, okay, and now please, open the brackets and forget everything that we have just practiced. Yeah, so makes less sense than doing it right before speaking. I'm going to show you an example of an additional lesson on there is, there are for elementaries. For beginners might be as well, but for elementaries. The teacher asks students about jokes. Do you like jokes? What kind of jokes? Do you know any jokes about food and restaurants? Or just jokes in general? Do you know any jokes in English? Have you ever told a joke in English? And blah, 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 blah. Students are discussing. They are telling their favorite jokes in English about anything. Yeah? And then you show this. Yeah. Yes, it's fly soup waiter. But one line is missing. They receive this picture, they look at it, they try to complete it, and then you show the options. What does the customer say? And your students need to choose the best option. What is the best option? So your best option is actually the grammar, the aim of your lesson, the grammar that you want to present. And you can include some typical mistakes here, because this structure is a bit different from what we use in our first language, so you can write something similar to what students use in first language, but translate it like into English. Write some Russian English. You focus, so in that way you covered the meaning, here you cover the form, the form, the usage, and these tasks illustrate also the usage. You've got two simple dialogues. Is there a stove in the kitchen? Yes, there is. There is a very nice stove in the kitchen. Oh, good. And we've got a negative. One. Is there a refrigerator? No, there isn't. Oh, I see. So two simple dialogues. They can be used for drilling. These dialogues are taken from the book Side by Side. And these books are based on drilling. Lots of drilling, lots of substitutional drilling. And the tasks look like this. So students receive these simple dialogues. Sometimes I use these simple dialogues for disappearing dialogues activities first, so they memorize them. And then they receive these simple pictures with some pieces of information. Sometimes I cut them out so they have them as cards. And they need to repeat the same dialogues, but they change. They change something in it. So a window in the kitchen, yes. A fire escape, a closet in the bedroom, a bus stop near the building. And every time they need to change some information. We've got only singular things here, but you can look through the book and you will find only plural or only singular or the mix of everything, and students need to drill. So again, nothing difficult for students, so you don't need a lot of explanation here, So you remember how we presented it, just with one example. We don't have to spend lots of time, we just need to drill it. This is the book. It's book 1 for lower levels, then we've got book 2, book 3, and book 4. And in book 4, there are some structures like should have done, could have done, past perfect continuous, future perfect. So it can be used with high levels too. Practice, of course we need some restricted practice activities. We can use some alternative tasks, we can show some pieces of art and ask our students to describe. So what stage of the lesson is it?
Production.
Pure production, because students are using their own tools to describe that. Okay, so there is a bottle on the table, there is a cloth on the table. You will need to provide your students with some vocabulary that they don't know, but I think they will enjoy this activity. Okay. So could you please discuss these questions with your colleagues? The questions are related to everything that we've that we've discussed. Yeah. Please work in a pair, and in a pair. Those 3 minutes. Yeah, everything is we discussed. Everything.
Very general question.
Feel free to ask. Yeah, first of all, send me your letter, and then to the users.
Good question. Is it covered? Oh, it means like
They have if there are they have
and also exercise lessons, for example.
When to add in the lesson to the timetable. I know that we have a lesson plan for additional classes.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. I'll tell you. Yeah, I'll tell you about everything.
And actually, how to choose a date?
A date.
Yeah, I mean, you said that you have to send the plan in advance, 1 week before, but when we have to arrange all this, I mean...
Okay, so you need you need to choose the topic and you need to choose the date like 2 weeks before. Yeah, 2 weeks before, maybe like 11 days.
And when this lesson is put it...
then our students will see the lesson in their profiles on the CRM. So the lessons, extra lessons appear 1 week before.
1 week before,
Yeah. So they see it 1 week before. That's why I ask you to discuss the topic and set the date with me 2 weeks before, maybe 11 days before that. So we have time to choose the right topic, to choose the right office and date, to exchange our emails, reply to each other, and we have time to write a short advertisement. You have time to write a short advertisement if it is something that needs to be advertised. And then this time, our administrators, there is one administrator who is responsible for inputting the information to the system, so she needs this time to input, to open the registration, and that's basically it. So just 2 weeks before the date you need, please tell me. Yeah, we'll arrange it, we'll write it into
These
timetable.
additional classes are held on Fridays and Saturdays as well as grammar.
Fridays and
yeah.
Saturdays, yes.
Are they held in a different time than their grammar classes?
So they, on Saturdays, they start at 12:40, yeah? Grammar classes start earlier, yeah, from the very morning, yeah? And additional classes start from 12:30. So some of them overlap, but not all of them. Not all of them, yeah? So that's why we decided to start with additional classes from 12:40. Sometimes students need this, it is convenient for them to attend one grammar class and then one additional class, yeah, not to spend time traveling, yeah, twice. So that's convenient. Friday, something might overlap, something might not. So students also choose. First, I attend my grammar classes and then.
If there would be an additional, okay, so can there be an additional grammar class before the main grammar classes, like in the first part of the day? Yeah, so on Fridays, grammar classes starts at 50:50 and 3 p.m. Can there be additional grammar class before that?
Before 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
No. And I will tell why, because people don't usually come. They work or study, this time is not popular, the offices are not open, or for these reasons, just for these reasons. But from 4 p.m., yeah.
But for example, I teach grammar classes on Fridays and Saturdays. So all of this time which they have grammar classes, I don't
you've
do
got
anything.
it is occupied, yeah? We can discuss it with you. Yeah, we can discuss it. We might find some solution for you.
It was with the Japanese additional classes. They had a problem with finding the teacher, but as for me, especially because of the time, they first wanted it like for 12. And I said, if you can't do this at, for example, 15, so I worked till 2:30 and then half an hour to get there. I may come. And after they changed to the time, 2 more teachers applied for these additional classes. So they were free of cost. So perhaps here we have the same. So perhaps I might want to try doing this.
Okay, please write me. I will show you the timetable with the offices, and we will try to find something. If it doesn't overlap with some other classes and I will try. Yeah, let's see what we can do here. So let's go through the questions. So what are the main differences between the types of lessons? We've got
mini classes.
Yeah, mini grammar classes. Then we've got
Usual.
Communication classes or lexical classes. Yeah, or maybe something practical. Maybe some workshops if you are willing to deliver them. And we might have longer classes. Yes, okay, 3 hours long. Yeah. We can have some clubs, clubs which are conducted regularly. Okay, and what are the pros and cons of each of them?
Just different.
Different number of people.
Different timing.
Okay, timing, a number of people, different focus. How to choose the topics and the level?
According to their syllables.
According to their syllabus, yes. Please ask me, we will discuss it, I will help you. I will also share the list of topics with you. I will share the list of topics that can be theoretically popular, interesting. You might find something among those topics. And I'm also going to send everyone an email with grammar topics. Grammar topics divided by levels. But if you want to offer something on top, let's discuss that. It's also possible. How to get ready? Get ready with a plan, get ready with materials, use different books, course books. Yeah. Use our library. Don't forget, we've got huge amount of resource there. When to send the materials? When to send the materials? A week before, yeah? A week before, so we have the time to discuss it. When to add a new lesson to the timetable? 2 weeks before, yeah, maybe like earlier. Yeah, earlier, yeah. This is like the last, yeah, the deadline. But yeah, if you want to, so at least 2 weeks, yeah. But if you want at the very beginning of the semester, if you want to occupy some slots, why not? Yeah, please do that. And if you want to cancel a lesson, please bear that in mind. That if it is not on the system, that's fine. But if it is already on the system, then we need to find a substitution. Yeah, or we need to. Yeah, this might be problematic, and we need to react quickly, and we need to find some solutions to this. When to add? Yeah, who to send the materials to? Firstly, yeah, to me, we discuss, have some comments, and then you send them to the administration. It's usually, yeah, for printing them out. And who to ask for help? Okay. So my email, Green Forest Teaching Center. If you happen to forget my email, it will be redirected. But first of all, yeah, to me, sasha.kash@gmail.com. List of topics and timetable can be reached by this QR code. Days: Friday from 3, yeah, starting from 3 p.m. and Saturday 12:40. If you need some other time, we might discuss it. I doubt if we can find any solution on Friday, but on Saturday, maybe a little bit earlier on Saturday, might be. Yeah, topics in the timetable, 10 days in advance, 2 weeks in advance, yeah, something like that, and 7 days in advance. Yeah, please send your lesson plan 7 days in advance to me. Can you try to scan the QR code?
Yeah, that's.
Can you show me? So you are redirected to the old timetable. You might see the slots. You might see the offices. It will look the same. Yeah, basically it will look the same. But if some slots are already occupied, don't be worried. They might be free. They might remain occupied. Yeah, but we will find you the room at a convenient place. Thank you very much for your time today. Waiting for your emails. Wish you to have a great student.